Welcome everybody for another Page One Power webinar talking about link building today. One of our favorite topics to talk about. And it's funny, we get a lot of practice. We get a lot of practice talking about this, both with our trying to explain what we do to our families and just around the company as well. So we're Page One Power, and my name is Colin Eggleston, and I'm the trainer here at Page One Power. And I train our new hires. I started off here as a link builder myself, and almost over 4 years ago now, the very early days of the company. And I want to teach everybody a little bit about what we do as far as what link building is, why it's important, and kind of how we approach it and kind of our take on it. So let's see, let me get my presentation moving here. There we go. Okay, so who we are, Page One Power. Manual relevancy first link building firm based in Boise, Idaho. So hi to everybody from the gem state here in Boise, and we have a lot of this. Surprisingly enough, we have a lot of Pokemon Go Pokestops here too. So the Pokemon that found us, even though we're kind of out of the way for most other reasons, but at least the Pokemon found us. So we call ourselves a manual link building company, a relevancy first, and that's a very important word too. That kind of speaks to our process and kind of our handcrafted, tailor-fitted process. We'll kind of talk a little bit more about this, but there's no one-size-fits-all to the way that we do things, and that manual process is very important to kind of what we do and to kind of how we approach link building. So what is link building? This crazy thing. I've tried explaining it to my parents or my grandparents at holidays and things like that. It's always a fun challenge. But what we do is we basically, if you have a good site and you own a business and you have an online presence, well, we help other places link back to you, link back to your assets, what we call linkable assets. Back to your website, and there's a lot of different ways that we do that, and so you can kind of see on there, and it's a very manual, customized process that we basically take everything that your site has to offer into consideration. We look at your industry and we look at your competitors. What are they doing? How are they getting hyperlinks? Hyperlink, just kind of basic. You click on it. You're online, you click on that link, it takes you to another page or another website. That's a hyperlink. Now, those links are very important, right? So links are very important. So they are, in one level, they're kind of a vote of confidence from other websites, and they kind of build your authority, right? So if your business doesn't have any links and no one's linking to your business, it's harder for your customers to find you. It can lead to lower visibility in Google search results. So if you're a plumber or a dentist, and people are trying to, customers are trying to find you in your area, and you have no links to your site, people may not be able to find you. Also, search engines love links, Google specifically, and so Google really appreciates a lot of links, and it's actually kind of the core, one of the core metrics of its algorithm, and how it actually makes decisions on ranking one site over another. So if you have two sites that are very similar, two local dentists, they have a lot of similar content, they're very similar, sites of similar age, that they were established around the same time. Google tends to favor the site, one of the two, that has more links pointing to it. And so that's kind of why they're important. They lead to visibility in rankings for your customers. They can find you, and they help establish your site's authority. Which can also lead to value, right? To ROI. We get this question all the time, and links have considerable value when it comes to building your presence in online search, because no matter what industry you're in, it's going to be competitive, right? And everybody kind of feels their competitors kind of closing in on them, and you want to do everything in your power as a business with an online presence to help ensure your presence is, that your customers can see you and have access to you above your competitors. So how are your competitors doing this? How are they beating you? Is usually through links. Sometimes paid advertisements help as well. They're kind of part of that equation. But we're talking about links today. And so the ROI is really with getting you more visibility in organic search traffic so your customers can get to your site. And also, links, if there's thousands of links pointing back to your site around the internet, well, that's thousands of opportunities for people to click on those links from other sites and discover you and discover your brand and to buy your products, to get on your mailing lists, to get on your contact forms, to show up at your office and make an appointment. So that's another kind of tertiary benefit is that, yeah, you can get the rankings for having lots of links and getting that organic, what we call organic or search engine traffic to your site. But another thing that that people don't necessarily consider too is that every link is a new opportunity for someone to find you. So another thing to kind of consider. So the value is very considerable, especially when you're talking about how do I beat my competitors. So kind of don't take our word for it type of thing is that links are very important, and this is recognized by a lot of industry leaders like Matt Cutts and as you can see in these quotes here, and kind of going back to the old glory days, 1998, 1999. Where Google was kind of, Google was in its inception. Well, the thing that separated Google from other search engines, like you maybe remember Lycos or Dogpile or Metacrawler or any of those other search engines that were a lot more popular than Google at the time. Actually, funny story. I had a friend that tried to, I was in high school at the time, and I had a friend that tried to convince me to go on Google as a search engine, and I was like, dude, that's just just kind of one of the new players in the group, and they're not going to go anywhere. And I was very happy with Dogpile at the time, and I was like, man, Dogpile for life. And so luckily I'm not a stock trader, so that's not my business. That's not my expertise. So anyway, the reason why Dogpile is not really around today, no one really talks about that. Them or Lycos or even Bing or Yahoo for that instance, but Google pulled ahead because of links. So its core algorithm called PageRank, which was created by Sergey Brin, and you have links that point to your site, and the more authoritative that they are, the higher the search engine is going to rank you. And so they're a very core factor into ranking, and that's kind of what separated Google from the pack as well. So the process. What is the process? This goes back to the manual, and Larry Page too. I guess he had something to do with it, allegedly. No, of course, Larry and Sergey both developed PageRank, and we're very grateful for it today. Actually, I was looking at some numbers. The amount of e-commerce that was actually this kind of speaks to link building too. The amount of e-commerce that passed through Google before money changed hands with businesses in 2015 alone was almost $400 billion. So to kind of put that in perspective, the movie industry brings in just under $30 billion a year, maybe kind of knocking on the door of 40, and the video game industry is about the same, about 40-50 billion. So Google alone processed more money than all of Hollywood, all the video game industry combined, plus a couple $100 million on top of, or $100 billion on top of that as well. So fun fact there. So speaking of the manual link building process that we apply, so there's these four core pillars to it. So we have the research and kind of ideation and kind of discovery. Then we have on this slide it says find relevant websites. That kind of we call that our site prospecting or target site prospecting. And then we have the outreach phase where we actually connect with websites that we have found that are appropriate, appropriate sites that we want to kind of target to build links, build relationships with. And then finally, kind of the last part is kind of link optimization, is kind of like, oh, is the anchor text going to be optimized for this industry or for the keywords that maybe we want to rank for or send the right signals, or is the landing page, is the link pointing to the right place on the client side, and all that good stuff. So that's something we definitely kind of just pay a lot of attention to. I would also throw in this process too is that there's a high degree of kind of content creation as well, and a lot of that is kind of thrown in between, after outreach and before link optimization as well. Is where we will create content for our clients and either linkable assets on their site. So if you have kind of a bare bones site and kind of you're looking for ideas, we can help with that as well. Not to trying to be too salesy or whatnot, but it's just that's something that we also do because we are experts in kind of creating that content both for link building purposes and also for kind of building up your site's content portfolio. Anyway, so the R&D, starting at the step one here, R&D, the research and development, is where we really just do a lot of discovery about your site. How long have you been around? What links do you already have? What are your competitors doing? What sort of content is popular in your niche? What is your niche? What are you trying to achieve with your site? And so we ask all those questions and many more, and that establishes kind of our baseline and kind of guides our hand as to where we're going to find those relationships and find those links for you and get those links, get the best links for you. And then that kind of guides us into finding relevant websites and building that, what we call our outreach list, or building that prospecting list. And finally, the manual. This is all manual. We can't scale. We can't automate this, right? Maybe with a few more IQ points or whatnot, maybe I could build a script that would kind of maybe help us with some of this. But you really can't just plug in, 20 bits of information here and then piece of information and then just have a script just do the rest. This is all manual by hand, right? And so it's a process that kind of blends the old and the new, whereas like, well, we need technology to kind of achieve this, but it's also a process that takes a lot of kind of a lot of brainstorming with just a pen and paper or on the whiteboard, very kind of the manual, the digital and the analog kind of marriage between those. And then we outreach those sites, again, handcrafted emails and all that. So I want to talk about that. So that's kind of the process. Let's talk about strategies that we do. So these are kind of our 4 core strategies that we do, plus competitive link research, which basically says goes after the question like, oh, well, what does your competitor do? Who's linking to them? How do I get links? Because sometimes you want the exact same links, some of the exact same links as your competitor. If they found a really great site to get listed on as like an industry partner on if you're like an agricultural client and you are in like you're in the beef industry or something like that, and you're kind of a national partner, a national brand, and your competitors, you look at their profile. We look at their entire backlink profile as part of what we do. And we see that they're on these 5 different lists of industry partners for the agricultural industry and the beef kind of the beef cattle industry. Well, great. So now we're going to outreach to those 5 different places that have listed our competitor, and we're going to say, hey, add us to the list. We do X, Y, and Z. Here's our selling proposition. Here's why we're great, and we belong on this list. So a lot of our competitors do a lot of the work for us, which is really helpful. Too. So that's why that's an important aspect of the 4 core our 4 core products, our 4 core link building tactics. So publishing links is basically where we find relevant blogs. This is blog specific. We find blogs or news organizations that are relevant to your industry. So we'll just stick with agricultural. So they're talking about agribusiness. They're talking about maybe personal, small farms, small to medium businesses, farms, family farms, things like that. And they're talking about that. And we get published. We pitch articles to that site. And in that article, we refer back to a page on your site that's a linkable asset. So like maybe on your site, if you're in the agricultural business, you have a great research article about how growing organic is, is more profitable long term than trying to rake in the non-organic profits short term. And so, okay, so that's a study on your site or a write-up on your site. Well, in this article, we can link back to that study and refer back to it in the article. And once the article gets published on this other person's agricultural blog and that link goes live, ta-da, we've just built a link back to your site. So that's our first method there is publishing, and that's very successful. It's kind of our bread and butter, and that helps us get lots of really good kind of nice and juicy content links that are very relevant because the content around the link speaks to your industry. It speaks relevance to your brand and to what you do. Now, resource links, I actually already kind of dove into this one. So this is where we find, we find a lot of, friends of the industry or industry partners or, lists of agricultural partners in the greater Pacific Northwest. And so if somebody has this resource page, what we call a resource or a links list on their site, we'll outreach to those site owners and say, hey, we actually have a really great addition to this list that you have on this page. Would you please add this link to it? And here's why, and here's some more information. And that's kind of the process of that. So resource links are really tremendous because you can typically build a pretty good number of them, and doing through competitor research, you can really kind of discover some good places that your competitors may have found. So that's a really good one. Brand mention is another strategy that we use where if you have if your brand name is kind of big enough in your industry or just big enough in general that people are mentioning you or your business in articles or it pops up in the news. Well, we look for mentions that are unlinked, that don't link back to your site, and then we reach out to them manually and say, hey, thanks for that mention. That's really great. We would love it if you could actually hyperlink, where you mentioned our name, so that you can, so that the readers can have, better access to the information and learn more about us, things like that. And that's usually very successful. Then 404 reclamation, without getting too technical with this one, is basically, when a page dies, when a page goes down, 404s, right, is a technical term. Well, we basically find opportunities to kind of reclaim some of that equity from those pages that are no longer active. And so that's something that we've been very successful with too. So I want to look at, so if your business is local, we have a plan for you. Right, so I won't go over everything on here, but I just want to kind of show you that we have a full proven method to kind of go through and help with a local company. So if you're a dentist or a doctor's office or a car repair or coffee shop, that where you have a specific geographic area that you want to reach out to and perform well in, then great, then we have a plan for you. Now to take that to the other level and say national. And so if you sell products like, if you sell products online, like if you sell creatine or protein powder over the internet and you mail it to people, well, you don't really have a storefront, but you want to kind of be recognized in kind of a national way and kind of more broadly. Hey, we have a plan for you as well. So everywhere from kind of small to medium businesses to larger businesses or even types of businesses, we can basically help you out. And we have a very good plan and kind of a proven method for this as well. Also, check out our website and check out pageonpower.com. We actually have a lot of really good case studies that you can kind of see. So you can kind of look up a business that's similar to you. And check out there. Also, I want to give a shout out to our link building blog, Linkerati. An incredible resource there for anything, all things link building, but not just link building, SEO in general, marketing, and anything else that kind of falls under our purview. So definitely check those out. This as another great source of information. So why Page One Power? One thing too that I think is really important about us as well is kind of our approach to any business and the fact that when you partner with us, it's a real partnership. And so we talk about transparent and ethical. So that manual process, you'll have a view into into everything that we do within that manual process, from the emails that we send to the sites that we're targeting for you, and we actually develop a campaign with you as your partner. So we're not, it's less like a vending machine or something like that, where you put the quarter in, you get the product, everything's, and you just get that. That's what you get. This is a whole partnership and a journey. I think that I think that's kind of something that's unique about us. And so, yeah, link building is great, but also kind of building that partnership and kind of helping your brand succeed is also something else that we're very passionate about. So contact us. We can talk a free consultation, and whatever your business is, we can kind of take a look at it and see where to go from there and talk about all those fun things. I'm not in the sales department, so I don't get a commission from sales or anything like that. So I'm not really trying to, I'm not really approaching it from that angle. But we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to talk to you, and check out your website. Give us a call and we'll talk. So that brings us to the interactive portion here of our show of the webinar. So I have here actually. Oh, it looks like James. James is giving us a shout out from Meridian, so fellow Idahoan there. So great to have you with us, James. Yeah, it's nice to we talk to so many people from around the U.S. and around the globe. It's nice to have somebody in our own backyard as well. So cheers to that. Does anybody have any questions? If you have any questions, or James, if you have something too, if you're curious as well. This would be the time to address them. Looks like we have a question from Andrew. Okay, so Andrew has a great question here. So Andrew is asking about, what is your number one tip for link building outreach? Well, my number one tip is actually an entire slide deck presentation that would take like an hour to go through. But no, not really. So number one tip that I like to do is that I like to proclaim is basically understand the site that you're reaching out to, right? Do some research, and if you're going to approach somebody, then do your due diligence, do a little bit of basic research, and kind of understand the audience to whom you're reaching out, right? And so that has that you're going to approach a site that's like a .gov versus a lot different than maybe like a site that's more of like on the mommy blog side of things. So do that due diligence. Will save you a lot of hardship later on. As well, doing that research. So very good. Also, I'll throw in another bonus tip too for link building outreach is just be personal, be human, kind of be yourself. Inject some personality into it. And because really, like, if you're approaching a site and you want to engage with them and you want to write for them, you want to provide content for them as a form of link building, as one of our strategies, that first email that they get from you, it shows them your writing style, right? It's their first preview into how you write. And so if you are kind of flat and dull and to the point and boring and robotic and any other synonyms that might come to mind, that's their first glimpse into how you're going to approach content, and they're probably not going to be impressed. So with that, inject some of your personality, have fun with your outreach, and kind of engage with the site on a level that's that might be a little bit different and endearing and engaging. So there's that. Okay, we have another question. Oh, great. We have a question from James. So James says, how do you do 404 reclamation? How do you find the broken links? Awesome question. I love this part of link building too. This is kind of more of the technical side of things, which really kind of gets my scientific kind of background going, kind of really speaks to that. So for 404 reclamation, what we do is we have some tools. One that we again, they're not paying me to say this, but we use Majestic SEO. I guess they used to be called, but it's just Majestic now. We use Majestic and their backlink profiler, and we basically will go through. We'll toss a competitor in and say, hey, let's look at this competitor's site, and let's pull up all the pages on their site. The bigger site, the better usually. And it'll print out a report. We basically download it to Excel, and we can sort it by pages that that are flagged dead or 404. Okay, that's step one, is we look through all those that are showing up dead, and then we go through and say, okay, how many of those pages that are dead still have links to them, pointing to them? And if we have a couple, 3 or 4 or 5 pages that are dead on our competitor's site, and there's links pointing to them, that means that there's equity there that's on the table that's ours for the taking. That's basically that we can kind of go and redirect that to our client, right? So if you're both agricultural companies and you both sell a similar product, and you're in the beef industry or the cattle industry, and your competitor has a whole bunch of dead links pointing to a page that's like a maybe even like a contact form, or maybe like a piece of content, and there's like 20 links pointing to it. Well, we can go and find a similar piece of content or the exact same type of content on our client site, and then outreach to all those people that are pointing to the dead page on our competitor site and say, hey, looks like here you're pointing to this, you tried clicking on this and it 404'd on me. I actually found something similar on this other site, and it's actually much better, and it's awesome. And would you please link to that instead? And a lot of times the site owners are very receptive to that. They're like, oh crap, I hate having broken links on my site, so I'm going to go ahead and switch it to the one that you suggested, and have a nice day. So that's part of it. We also do, with 404 reclamation, we also do a scan of our client site through Majestic as well, or through Moz. And we basically do a research on any broken links on our client site, or broken pages on the client site, and see if there's equity left on the table that we can kind of help. So it's all top to bottom. We do a scan and kind of look through both our competitors and our clients. So there's that. So yeah, we're big fans of that. We also like to use a tool called I think it's called Broken Link Checker. Just Google it on the Chrome store. And there's also one called Domain Hunter and Domain Hunter Plus, I believe, and they're free extensions for Chrome, and they will actually show you broken links on a page level, so that you can kind of help with that as well. So excellent. Looks like those are some good questions. We're kind of let's see. Oh, here we go. We have another question here. Okay, so James is asking, so if there's a phone number on the site you're trying to get a link on, do you find it to be more effective than sending email? Yeah, we've done both. We've done both. If a phone number is kind of, if we're not getting a response via email or electronically, then just picking up the phone doesn't hurt either. It kind of depends on the circumstances, but yeah, we want to kind of, the internet is a big place. There's a lot of bots out there, and there's a lot of spammers out there that try to send all these junk emails to people. And so a lot of people don't trust email off the bat. It's harder to kind of breach that level of trust and kind of get there. A phone call, usually a spammer from Russia or India or wherever in Florida, a spammer isn't going to pick up the phone and call and say like, hey, I'd love to get on your site, or I'd love to work for you, or I'd love to write for you. Let's talk about some pitches I have, or hey, I see you have a great resource page that talks about agricultural partners. I actually have a great addition to that page, and here's why, and here's where you can find more info. Pick up the phone. Sometimes that'll save you it'll save you a lot of time, maybe weeks back and forth of kind of pinging back and forth with emails. So yes, phone number, it's definitely not our first approach, but it's definitely on the table. Sometimes your fingers get tired and you don't want to type anymore, so you just want to maybe just dial, and there you go. Excellent. Well, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending and for your time today. And shout out to James as well from Meridian. If anyone has any more questions, please get a hold of us. PageOnePower.com is a good place. We have a great contact form. And then we'll get in touch, and we want to hear from you. So thank you so much for your time today, and we are out.